Cover Pro Columbus. Tune in and join us. Disrespected Media.
Hello and welcome to Disrespected Media, thedisrespected.com. This is a dual pod edition of the Crewcible and Cannonballs, because we have a person here that can speak with authority on both, and he's a man of great passion. He is, as you can see by his picture here, his visage, he is the most interesting man in the world. It is, of course, Tom Reed, the Condor. My head hit the pillow last night, and my thought after watching the Crew game was, and after I looked at the social media, was I'm going to give Henrik Rydström and Issa Tall the benefit of the doubt. I understand there's a lot of things that Crew fans were agitated about after last night's game. We're going to get into it. And in the morning I woke up and there was a text from Tom, and it said, here's your next column, VAR is awful, or words to that effect.
It sucks.
Okay, let's talk about that first, Tom.
Okay. Now, last night at the Crew game was not necessarily an example of it not working properly, because it did, and they actually got the call quickly, and it was a case where Arston was just a fraction offside.
A toe.
Yes, when I am, but
perhaps a toenail, Tom.
But for the most part, working either as a sports writer or watching games, I'm not always a fan of the game I'm watching, but as a fan now, as not being a sports writer and being a fan again, I think the thing that it robs you more of anything, and this isn't what necessarily why I would want to scrap it, but just being in attendance last night, was that you want to have that joy, because it was a beautiful goal. Your new guy, Gomes, beautiful straight ball right up the middle. Arston, great turn, great touch off the post, and there's Taha, the local kid, puts it in the net. Beautiful team goal. And then, but immediately, just I could see by Taha's reaction, like he didn't fully into the celebration, and it robs you of that moment of, is it a goal or is this going to get called back? And I can tell you 5 or 6 other things that I don't like about VAR. And I feel I'm a fairly progressive person.
Yes.
Even with technology, I think it works in a lot of sports. I think it works much better in hockey, although it still comes down to an interpretation. I still don't know what the hell goalie interference is or isn't.
I write that sentence once a week, Tom.
Right. But I watch a lot of, obviously, Premier League, Champions League, and then you get early FA Cup games where there's no VAR, and there's no VAR in the Championship, which is the second level of English football, and it's so nice. Just like it either is or it isn't. And the original argument was this was going to right wrongs. It was only going to be in a situation where it was clear and obvious mistakes. But that hasn't happened. I mean, it's just becoming to the point where it's re-refereeing the game way too much. Oftentimes it takes too long. You watch it in slow motion. And the other thing, the irony of all this is, Mike, is it hasn't necessarily alleviated controversy. It's created more.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still talking about calls that were supposed to be fixed by this technology. And again, when it goes for your team, it's great, and when it doesn't, it sucks. But overall, as a neutral, I just hate it. I gave it a shot. I just think it's getting worse and worse, and they changed the rule interpretations. And we were just talking about, I guess soccer's equivalent to the goaltender interference is handball. I don't know what handball is anymore.
No.
I don't know what handball is.
Well, they've rewritten it a few times, have they not?
Yeah, there's all these changes, but again, this was supposed to be to clear up clear and obvious mistakes, and that's not where it's gone. But as a fan last night, it was more of, it just robs you of that moment to spontaneously cheer knowing your team scored a goal because the flag stays down.
Well, Tom Reed, of course, began his career as a sports writer in Warren, Ohio, home of Packard. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a Packard there, yeah.
No, home of Packard. He has worked for the Akron Beacon Journal, the Columbus Dispatch in a couple stints, the Cleveland Plain Dealer in multiple stints, and for a first-rate outfit in Pittsburgh at the end of his sports writing career. And
The Athletic for 3 years?
That's right. Excuse me, Athletic for 3 years. Where we sit here is the covered patio, the smoking room of Jimmy V's on 5th, West 5th in Grandview. And Tom on Sundays runs the cigar store, which is adjacent. And so this is a veritable smoking room as well.
It is. And Jimmy V's and Caliber Cigars, they will have anyone who wants to come out here on the opening day of the March Madness. They'll be going all day strong from the first tip to the end of the games. Buy 3 cigars, get 1 free of their choosing. It's a great deal. Then you get all the Jimmy V's food, their drink. It'll be a good time. So that's the next event they have coming up.
It's a good spot, not just because you work here, Tom. Right?
Yeah, it is. It's good fun. And I work here 7 hours a week. Not my real job, but I just do it because basically they give me money and I give it right back to them. It's like the general store. Back in the old days, I just buy cigars.
The company store.
The company store. I just give it right back to them buying cigars.
Tom, one thing you mentioned about VAR that resonated with me in our conversation earlier was the fun, the sapping of joy that comes with that can come with the review. And last night's goal by the Crew was that was called back was kind of a sine qua non example of that.
Exactly, and to be honest with you, Mike, after that play, they were very good the first 30 minutes of that game, and they really, after that goal was called back, they really didn't do anything until the right at the end where Arfston went off the clip the crossbar.
Yeah. From distance.
Again, I do want to state that they got it right, and that it was a quick call. But more than anything, it's just you want to hug people, you want to high five, you're so happy, but then you're still kind of looking back. Is the referee going to walk to the monitor? That's just not how we grew up with sports.
No,
it really is, and at soccer more so than other sports, because if a touchdown gets overturned, the team still has the ball probably. Right, and it's so hard to score goals in soccer that you just hate to see things like that get taken away. When they aren't clear and obvious, as you pointed out, he was offsides, but barely offsides. And I don't know what you do with that part of it.
My lawyer had a rant. Randy Kilbride, rest in peace. But one of his bar rail rants, among 150 of them, had to do with what constitutes a catch in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
And I think this is germane. Is it finish the catch? Is that what they say now?
Yeah, complete the catch.
Did he complete the catch? And what Randy used to say was, if you're playing touch football as a kid down at the park, you know what a catch is.
Right.
You don't get into the minutia of whether was the catch completed. That was a catch. No, that wasn't a catch. And so I think the VAR offside is kind of the same, because you look at that play. Technically, was Arston offsides? Yes. Did they get the call right? Yes. But if they're playing that with no referees, it's a good goal and no one's yelling. Well, maybe one guy's yelling.
Honestly, I didn't see any protest other than the goalkeeper always puts his arm up. The guy could be on side by 20 feet. They always put their arm up. But it wasn't like there was a mass turnaround to the linesman saying that was offside. They didn't know.
Yeah.
But again, the word that you hate to see ever put into sports is forensic, and that's what it's become. It's forensic. It's slowing it down. And also, Mike, it's like it's not just offside. They'll look 3 or 4. Was this pass offside? Was that pass offside? Was this guy interfering with the line of the goalkeeper in an offside position?
Right.
There's just way too much that they review. And I would just rather them get it wrong on the field and live with that.
Let's talk about the crew. So I guess we wrap this part by saying, posing the question, is the game better with VAR?
I don't think it is. I thought it was. I thought it was going to be, but in the last year or two, maybe I'm just a grumpy old man. I would clearly go back. And like I said, I enjoy watching the early rounds of the FA Cup where there's no VAR, and I enjoy watching it that way because I know whatever was just ruled on the field, that's going to be the call.
I was monitoring after the Blue Jackets game. I watched the Crew and then the Blue Jackets, and that was a heavy affair in Philadelphia. 2-1 overtime victory for the Blue Jackets. But you were at the Crew game, and it's outstanding. You're at the Crew game,
Yes.
and went home and. As is your want, your rhythm of your viewing nights at the new Crew Stadium, you're like, okay, blood alcohol level versus understanding. Let's go to the highlights, right?
Right. I think the dirty secret, and you can say I'm wrong on this, but just from the watching the game, what did I see? You see the game way better on television than you do in person. Now, obviously, you like to be there. You want to be part of the atmosphere. What was Jeff Irmer's line? You got to be here. Something like that. And again, I love going to games. But I can't tell you how many times I talk to Browns fans when I cover the Browns. They're like, what are you doing? Well, I'm going to go home and watch the game. Weren't you at the game? You say, yeah, but I don't really know what happened.
Football especially.
Yeah, there's so much going on. And I went back and watched the highlights and was... Of course, we got to give a shout out to Neil Sika. Great call on the game-winning goal. It's tough on the Crew, but it was a great call, as is his want to do.
I'll say this about the television is there was so much lag in my Apple feed, and I wasn't aircasting it or whatever. It was on Apple TV. You switch to the camera angle, there's a lag, and then it got to be like the Zapruder film after a while, and I had some. I wish I was at the game, and there were reasons I wasn't, and Apple drove me crazy enough to where when I walked out of the room, someone else switched over to Fox. Was it the Fox feed? Did they have the game? And it killed me because I have such an appreciation for Neil's calls.
Sure, it's not Neil's fault.
And so two things, one of them being the Apple feed. I'm sure that other people have these same problems. I don't think it's I think my TV's connected. Anyway, 3 years in, the Apple TV production continues to be infuriating.
Well, if you remember, I don't know if it was the first game or the second game, they missed a Crew goal. Remember, there was a turnover and they put it into the net.
Right.
I can't remember which if it was in Kansas City or in Portland, but they basically missed the goal. You saw the ball in the back of the net. You had no idea how the hell it went in.
I thought of George Matthews, who'd Billy'd be talking in the old days, or George would be talking about something else, and then all of a sudden he'd say, "Goal!"
Yeah.
It was one of those flashbacks. Now, that's just a minor aside. But as I monitored social media last night and this morning, and I'm on Blue Sky at Michael Arace, on the X at the Disrespected, which I don't use the X very much. I just post what I just sort of promote my posts there. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn, but primarily at michaelarace1.bsky.social. As I looked at, and that's where the MLS fans are. They're on Blue Sky. The statistics show as much. But boy, they're frustrated in getting to the point of anger, Tom, watching this team. Boring, is one adjective that was used numerous times. There's a lot of chatter about how in Rydström's offense, which is supposed to be more direct, a la the called off goal, and also how there's a disconnect, almost an isolation with the attacking players. They're left on their own island. I don't know, your thoughts on what you've seen from Rydström and what you saw last night against a heavily rotated Nashville team.
Yeah,
We should say it was
they're
a...
getting ready for their, Champions League or whatever.
Right.
Well, I'm going to go back to what we...
Let me just say, Nashville won 1-0 with the goal in the stoppage time.
Yeah, just barely into stoppage time, I think. A couple minutes into stoppage time.
So that's a couple they've given up late, which gives fans here some awful flashbacks.
Right, they were different. They're different type of games, and that's we'll get to that in a second.
Right.
I think the first thing is people have to understand, and the first time we had this podcast, I said, like, it could be ugly early on because you have a new coach,
Yeah.
new captain, you're changing. You're bringing Abu Ali is now thank goodness he's healthy. That's new. Just a lot of things. There's a lot of moving pieces. So you have to kind of take. I know it's frustrating. I know they think they're one of 3 teams that haven't won a game yet, but it's early, and I know it's tough. It's frustrating after, especially a game like last night, where I don't think they had. I was talking with Neil, texting with him, saying they didn't even have a shot, not a shot on goal, but a shot in the penalty area. That's just hard to. It's hard to get your mind wrapped around. But it's going to take time, but at the same time, if you're paying to go to games and you have not scored a goal in 2 home games, that's hard to understand. I think the word that comes to mind is right now balance. Like the first couple games, they were just getting killed in transition. They've kind of that has kind of gone away a little bit.
Cleaned it up.
That goal last night was not a transition goal. So I think that they're working to try to find their balance of, all right, how much do we push forward and how much do we stay back so we don't get burned? I think they're kind of working through that. Diego Rossi last night was for a guy who's always involved.
Right.
I really didn't notice him very much. It's hard to think that way, because he's usually all over the place. I didn't notice him that much in the game last night. And Abu Ali it wasn't his night either. Because he just didn't, he was starved for services.
Yeah, had no help. Yeah.
Yeah, really. So, yeah, it's ugly right now, but it's also early. So, if you want to have problems, especially in a system where there's a playoff, you want to have them right now than in the last 10 to 15 games of the season.
In my last piece for my website, disrespected.com, the lead was Isatal conjuring 2023.
Yeah. When
Wilfried Nancy was a new coach, and he was taking stock of the personnel, and he was taking months to put in a system. And by mid-season, he'd figured out what personnel he wanted, and the system was being deployed with some effectiveness.
Yeah.
The rest is history that year. I don't know if you can draw an exact parallel. I will say this. Zawadzki moves to midfield out of necessity because Shambo could only go one half.
Yeah.
Camacho had his knees broken on the goal.
Yeah.
2 guys did, though. I mean, that was a goat's wedding in the box there.
I will say this on that goal. As Joe Thomas used to always say, the other team gets paid too.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful goal. It was a beautiful move to set up the goal.
Oh.
And sometimes you just got to damn it. That was a hell of a play. It wasn't a fluke play at all.
No, Henny Mukhtar knows where to be on those.
Yeah, but the guy that turns poor, what's his name, inside out, Camacho inside out, that was a hell of a play. That's really what sets up the goal. And then no one picks up the runner,
Yeah.
which is the guy who scores the goal.
I mentioned this at the top, Tom. I'll say it again. As I was going through the social, and I'm sensing that frustration, which is completely understandable. 0 goals in 2 home games.
Yeah.
I come back to what Greg Berhalter said to me after the Chicago game, in the tunnel after the game. I asked him what he thought about the Crew, and he said, work in progress. That was it. And I would just want to reiterate that I really like this coach. I think he's going to get it done. I'm giving him a lot of leash, personally. I know people have mixed feelings about Isatal. I believe in Isatal and the structure he's got set up. Always with the John Desai cast toward it, because that's part of what I do. But I really like the coach, and I think they've never addressed the lack of depth at center back, and Zawadzki's going to move back there now with Shambo getting some help. I don't know. I just think that I watched the coach's post game last night as well. And he loves winning and he loves attacking, and he's as frustrated as anyone.
Of course, yeah. And it's to go back for 1 second. When you mentioned Berhalter, my first thought when you mentioned him was, do you remember the first game last year against Chicago?
Yeah.
And Chicago tried to play out every time, and the Crew kept taking the ball and scoring goals.
Yeah.
So it does take time, and then by the end of the season, they were a pretty good team.
Yeah, they were a very good team. They made the playoffs. Yeah.
I think that this roster is limited, and I'm sure we'll probably come on to, what's going on with Daniel Gazdag twice now.
Two games.
One time is once, but twice. They do not have. 2 years ago, and you and I have talked about this, and I think we mentioned this on the podcast. They don't have substitutes that impact the game anymore.
No.
That's a problem. That's a big problem. And
he thinks Hugo Picard is capable, but anyway.
The one guy I really liked last night was Taha.
Yeah.
His goal gets chalked up. I think the kid, you just see, there's way too much. The one criticism, and this happens with teams sometimes that are very possession based, that maybe don't have the talent, it's too much sideways and backwards. You're not going to score goals sideways and backwards unless it's like Barcelona, where you go back and then they put it over the top to a guy streaking toward the net, and that's not what it is. It's a very slow, progressive move up the field. And Nashville really didn't have to do anything special. They really didn't have any. I can't remember any last gasp defending last night. Again, I was 5 years in, so I might be, but I don't remember.
They're very small beers, though.
I did. $16 beers.
Oh.
No, I didn't have 5 of those. Trust me. I pre-gamed, but it was just too easy for Nashville to just sit back, wait, and then you could just feel those last 10 or 15 minutes that they were going to get 1 or 2 chances.
Yeah,
Schulte made a couple good saves.
Yeah,
but he couldn't keep out the winner.
Yeah, Nashville, we should mention, and this is what makes it sting a little more for Crew fans, is they played Miami in the first leg of a Champions League series Wednesday, and they played leg two on the upcoming Wednesday. This Wednesday. They sat their studs the whole first half, and then as the game fell into their lap, we're like, okay, you guys just go win this.
And you could see it coming those last 15 to 20 minutes. And again, the Crew just aren't bringing any impact subs off the bench.
You like that, Don?
No, I can't believe it's
echoing in here.
Echoing in here.
I might have to use some AI stuff to clean up this video, like my face and stuff. Let's. Is there anything else you want to add? They're now winless through 4 games. I wouldn't call it alarming. I'm going to give this. I really like this coach.
Yeah. Again, it's early days. I do wonder what's really going on behind the scenes with Daniel Gazdag.
With Gazdag,
because that's, again, one game maybe you're sending a message, I thought for sure he would play last night. I thought that, and he's, your designated player, what, $4 million?
That was the cash. It was a little over $4 million was the cash price they paid to Philadelphia to acquire Gazdag, and then they extended him through 27 with a club option for 28. So, if this is a mistake, it's a very expensive mistake.
Yeah, and again, when it was just crying out for some kind of help at the end of the game, some kind of refresh at the end of the game. He certainly did not cover himself in glory in the first 2 games, but you needed something because you could see they had kind of almost run out of ideas. So
I mean, that is quite remarkable that in another 0-0 game.
Yeah,
they don't bring a DP off the bench. Let alone start him.
It's a little surprising. Like I said, they were good the first 30 minutes. Nothing. I had no problem. They were attacking. They created some chances. They didn't finish them obviously, but they did create chances, and then that was it.
We should mention before we move on and talk just a little bit of Blue Jackets, Tom, that Andre Gomes made his Crew debut. It was funny. I encourage people to go back and look at Henrik Rydström's press conference from Wednesday, which I did record and post at my YouTube page. It's also up at thedisrespected.com. But he did talk about Gazdag, if you're interested. I wrote about Gazdag on Saturday and used some of that material. But he also, right at the end, he was asked if the 2 new guys, I'm not going to say the Azerbaijani's name out loud right now, but he was asked if Gomes was going to be available, and he said, "That's what I hear." And frankly, the guy got to town like last weekend. He had 2 or 3 training sessions with the team. He played 8 minutes for Lille over the first half of the League One season. I was frankly surprised to see him 1 start and 2. How many minutes did he play? I mean, he played the whole first half. I know that much before.
I don't remember them making a substitution to the 60.
Keith, did Gomes play the whole game last night?
He didn't.
He came up. He came up late.
But 70 right before 70.
Yeah. That to me is. Look, I know that at one point in his career he was a world-class player. I mean, this is a Portuguese national. He's played at Everton and Barcelona, etc. But, like, just that alone, and that guy, when he was in there, was the link. That's what you saw in the first half.
Again, as we want to transition to the Blue Jackets, the transition there would be if the goal had stood, he would have got the hockey assist, the secondary assist, and he's really the one that made the play. Just picking out Arston right there, straight down the middle of the field. That's where defenses are so vulnerable. And it was like I said, the shame of it was it was such a nice team goal to get wiped out like that.
Well, we'll be talking to him this week, I assume. Remains to be seen, but I assume. One thing that Neil Seekett mentioned on the telecast on the Apple one was that that Gomes has spent all his time waiting for his visa paperwork to be done, or much of it, watching Malmo.
Yeah,
because he wanted to see what systems that Rydström employed, and according to what Neil said, he was quite happy to watch video of Rydström's team from Sweden.
Yeah, and like I said,
it's a pro. That's a pro right there.
Yeah, it's going to take time. It's really ugly right now. I've said that 3 or 4 times, but you got to give him a little bit of time to just kind of get this sorted.
Work in progress. Keith, how agitated are you?
I mean, I'm not exactly agitated. I don't know what they're trying to do right now.
He said
you can come over here so we can share the secondary mic. How's that?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Nostradamus, Keith Nas. I guess I should move the camera. We'll keep you off camera, I guess, so I don't have to move
just
the camera.
As long as the voice of Keith knows.
That's right.
I think the team. I could tell what the team was trying to do the first couple games. The third game clearly was focused on trying to figure out something on defense. Well, yesterday, on the one hand, the first half when you're watching, you could say they were playing better, but then you look at the underlying data, and Nashville's playing without their 2 star players, who are probably going to put up 40 combined this year goals.
What was their XG, like 0.2?
Yeah, it wasn't even 0.1. Yeah, I kept looking at the screen at stats to see when is that going to hit 0.1, and it wasn't.
Do they not take it? Do they not take into account balls to the crossbar and stuff like that? Because Arson's shot, it was going over, but it did graze the crossbar.
But see, like the XG on that is you're not expected to score
right from the distance,
that spot, right? It just, if you look at the shots after the game, the shot with the highest XG was Gomes.
Okay.
When a player in that position has the best opportunity and it still wasn't inside the box, I don't know what we were trying.
Do you know when the last time they had a game where they didn't have a shot inside the penalty area?
That's a great question. I have no idea.
I would say that there's a lot of reversion going on. I think that as much as he trains them to play systems that he wishes to deploy, that there's a default button still at this point for this Crew team after 3 years under Wilfried Nancy. And I think, like, to me, a lot of what we see is a lot of the struggles we saw them beginning with the August swoon last year.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of that was no Cucho related, no Aiden Morris related. Now there's some no Darlington Nagbe related, but Wissam Abu Ali and Andre Gomes are supposed to be part of the fix, and I think it is, as Berhalter said, a work in progress.
You could see, I don't know if you could see Abu Ali getting frustrated as the game went on. Yeah, I mean, he is not someone that hides his emotions.
He's expressive. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, in the game before, like I can't tell you how many times I saw him going back to get the ball because he wasn't even involved. That was the home opener. He got so frustrated that he was going too far back to get involved in the play, to get on the ball. And then, but when that happens, you don't have your target man in.
How many wins do you think the Columbus Crew have in the last 20 games?
I think that's for a future podcast. We'll have Keith on. Hopefully, I'm not screwing up all this audio. Go ahead.
No, but what I was like, you do have a point that there's some reversion to some things. Also, there's clearly some experimentation and formation. We were watching, and you could see they were clearly
4-4-2, yeah.
And but then, I mean, when we got the ball, we weren't really changing formation. A lot of times in the last, 3 years, at least since Porter, the formation would change when we did and did not have the ball. And yesterday it did not. And it very much looked like they were trying something a little different. It didn't work.
Yeah. Like we were saying earlier, it's early, and it doesn't look good. And as you mentioned, after those first 2 games, you could see that the edict was we're going to stop getting beat on transition. But then that sometimes, I'll give you a great example. One last example. I can't remember early in the game who crossed the ball. Abu Ali just misses it. It just goes in front of him.
Right.
If Arston runs to the back post, he has a tap in. But for whatever reason, he doesn't go. I don't know if that's a coaching situation, like don't go too deep there, because if we get beat on the counter, then we're in trouble. But I'm thinking that just cries out for that player on the far post to run to the far post. He has a tap in. So again, it's just right now it's a whole lot of ugly.
All right, just real quick about the Jackets before we sign off here. Wow, what a road trip! 3 games, 5 out of 6 points, and 2 of the games were really heavy. So they come home now, still under the playoff bar because there's some loser points being picked up. But boy, they have to be feeling really good about themselves. And I saw some of your skates talking about the reclamation of Elvis Merzlikins. Like, to me, there's that's been huge, obviously, and you know, Jet was in net last night. Terrific. He was terrific. I don't think not one of their three opponents on the road trip generated more than 20 shots 5-on-5.
Yeah, and that's huge.
Which
it's all about 5-on-5 play, and because in the playoffs, there's the occasional team that can ride a hot power play.
Right.
Years ago, I'm really dating myself back to the Minnesota North Stars when they made it to the finals against the Penguins. Had just a ludicrous power play, but more or less, playoff hockey is decided at 5-on-5.
Yeah, and that was cleaning up their well, like, you can almost relate it to the Crew and cleaning up their taking away the counterattacks and playing sound defensively and pressuring.
Well, I think mentally, just giving up those late goals. You know, they blew so many leads, and they've still squandered a few points here and there. Lately against the Rangers, they blew away a 4-0 lead in the third period.
Yeah.
So that's still not quite out of the system, but I think this is. I'll be right. I think this is a really dangerous team. A team that, when you look around in the playoffs, there's no big bad bear now. They're not even going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
You have Tampa Bay, who certainly has skill, but is a very old team.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, the Crew, or
Carolina,
the Blue Jackets have had their number this year.
Yeah.
And then Carolina, who just has this history of, they play 82 games like it's the playoffs, which means they don't have another gear to go to when the playoffs comes, and that their goaltending is never shown in the playoffs. So I think get in, which I fully expect them to get.
I do too.
That I think they could be a dangerous team.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it for this edition of the Crucible / Cannonballs podcast. I'd like to thank Keith Noss for stopping by, and hopefully I didn't screw up all the audio. Tom, I might have had to push this button at the start so as not everything get butchered. So
I think it's good that we had Keith. We have somebody coming off the bench.
That's right.
Here, an impact sub.
No question about it.
High energy. Hey, that's what I brought.
I consider him a Vinnie Johnson type microwave.
Yeah, and he didn't even appear on it. It's just his voice.
Yeah.
The voice of God.
It is that. It is that. And I also spilled a glass of ice water.
Oh, that's where that water is coming from. I was wondering what was leaking down my leg.
Oh, let's not go there. Oh, and I just knocked away. Well, I'll see if the audio comes out on this. I hope it does. If not, we'll try something else. No, at least I'll get a column out of it for Monday morning, which was the purpose of coming to Jimmy V's here in Grandview. Tom, give it another plug. You have
they have an event here.
You speak into the microphone.
It's Keith's microphone. First day of the NCAA tournament, all day. They'll be running specials. Oh, actually, I forgot to mention this earlier. I'm glad you gave me a second bite of the apple.
There we go.
It will be buy 3 cigars at Flavor Cigars, get 1 free of their choosing, and they're good cigars. But there'll also be raffles, including Crew tickets. They'll be raffling Crew tickets to an upcoming game. Jimmy V's is now I think they call it a pub part of the pub network. So you can come down here and watch every game at here. And we've been getting people coming in here.
Tom, how long have you been in the pub network? 80.
I've only been on the pub network since you started this website.
You know, please visit thedisrespected.com. And as far as my pods go, they're at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other listening platforms. I also have a YouTube page. Look for that if that's your preferred mode of consumption. And I will be having a raffle upcoming as well. I have at least 2 very good seats to Hell is Real that I'll be raffling off beginning in the near future. So look for that at disrespected.com. I'm cheap. Come subscribe. I'd appreciate it. And as far as the pod goes, like, subscribe, share, rate, review, etc. It really helps. Thank you for joining us for this Disrespected Media podcast. For Keith Noss and the Condor, I'm Michael Arace. Peace out. We'll talk to you again soon.
Something Columbus is the name for passing through. Forgotten franchises, they tried to steal the crew. Fly over country, left the jackets feeling blue.